Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. For those who don't know me, my name is Rhonda Muller. Can you see my screen okay? Wonderful. Thank you. So a warm welcome to our guests. I'm so excited. This is the first episode of the series, Biohacker Series. And just to give you a little bit of background as to why I'm wanting to do this is because all of this information that I find really interesting and I find that would have helped me in my journey in regards to recovering the health and development of my son, I want to share it with the world, because it is a really challenging journey. And if there's anything that I can do to support people, to help people, pass on my knowledge, the things that have helped me, network them with other like-minded people, then, you know, that's what I'm here for. So I just wanted to touch base and let you know what you're going to be hearing about today. So we're going to be talking about vestibular conditions and what we can be doing in regards to these conditions, some of the symptoms, signs, etc., how it impacts upon adults and children. Biohacking, what does that mean? We're going to be touching on natural medicine, nutrigenomics, epigenetics, oxidative stress, mitochondria, and so much more. So like I said before, for those who don't know me, my name is Rhonda Muller. I'm a nutritional therapist. I'm based in Australia on the Sunshine Coast in Mumbai, and I have my business called ASD Healthy Life. We also are joined here by Sheila Thelen. Did I pronounce that right? I hope so. And I actually met Sheila via LinkedIn. Now, if you guys have not heard of LinkedIn, it is a social network platform. I highly recommend you jump onto it because it's just full of professionals who are really open to connecting and supporting, you know, referral partnerships, etc. It's amazing. So that's where I met Sheila. And as soon as I saw, you know, her bio, I was like, oh my goodness, I really need to connect with this woman. So she's, I'm very, very grateful that you've, because I know it's evening over there in America. So just a quick bio. Sheila is a master rated figure skating coach from America. She's married with 2 adult children and 3 giant Newfoundland dogs. If you guys aren't familiar with those dogs, they're just gorgeous, like it's bigger than me. Then we also have Madaleen, Krogh, who is an occupational therapist, and she's based here on the Sunshine Coast in Australia as well. Okay, so a little bit about me. So my son was diagnosed with a condition called ASD, autism, back in May 2008. And it wasn't just a normal process of getting that diagnosis. It was a very long journey. I knew for quite a while that there was something not quite right. He wasn't, you know, he was reaching all of his milestones and then things just really regressed significantly to the point where he's lost all of his speech and language, his fine motor skills, his bowels stopped working. He was having breathing problems, skin problems. We couldn't get outside the front door without him having a meltdown. Certain fabrics and clothing, it was just, it was hell on wheels. And I had 3 other children that I was caring for as well. And at that stage, I was actually a small business coach. And that gave me that flexibility to work from home while I was raising the 4 kids. But when you have a child with significant health and developmental regression like mine did, it's like someone came in and started turning all the circuit breakers off. It was just like we were just surviving. We were not thriving. And I was very fortunate, very passionate about what you put out to the universe will come back tenfold. And that's exactly what I did. I was introduced to a world of opportunity, things that really changed our whole life for the better. It was called pretty much, you know, we were using nutrigenomics, nutrition, functional testing, vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, a whole host of things. And that was the backbone to recovering my son's health and development. That was the foundation that we laid all the speech and language, occupational therapy, etc., on top of what we were doing on the home front in regards to all of the nutrient therapy. And because I was learning so much from these well-respected doctors and pediatricians, I just thought, I need to learn this because I'm not getting the answers fast enough. And that's when I threw myself into studying nutritional therapy, nutrient therapy. And yeah, long story cut short, and I'm not here to spirit cures or we're saying we're reversing or, you know, anything like that. But my son's diagnosis was removed 8 years after his official diagnosis, because he no longer fit into the category. He no longer fit into that diagnostic criteria. That was never my goal. I just wanted my baby boy to be happy and to be well and to reach his true potential, you know, get through school without having severe panic attacks or, you know, not having friends or being invited to birthday parties. I just wanted him to be happy, get through school, get a job and meet the person of his dreams and give me lots of grandchildren, because I am a grandmother. I only have one grandchild. He's 10 months at the end of this month, and I want lots more. Because it's all about me. But so, yeah, I have now, you know, I started the clinic, ASD Healthy Life, and I haven't looked back, and I absolutely love what I do. One thing I will declare, though, is that I burnt out. I burnt the candle at both ends, and that's how Madaleen Krogh and I actually met, because she too was exactly the same as me, very passionate, driven, wanting to support people and educate people, but you know, we often put ourselves on the back burner. So that's part of the reason why I'm wanting to do this Biohacker Series and get this information out there to people, you know, who are going to benefit from this. So enough about me. You know, I've recovered my health. My energy is, I feel I'm in my 50s and I feel like I'm in my 20s again. And life is for the living. Okay, we want to thrive. We don't want to be just feeling like we're surviving. So this is my business, ASD Healthy Life, helping families reach their true potential. Now, some of this information that we're going to be sharing here today might seem very foreign or even a little bit peculiar, but I am very passionate about passing on my knowledge so others can be, you know, advocating on behalf of their families, because knowledge is power. Now, this doctor here, Dr. Ignace Semmelweis, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him, but he was a maternity doctor. And he was an Austrian doctor back in 1840, and he was suggesting and recommending other doctors wash their hands with soap before they actually worked or touched pregnant women. And what they were finding was that he was reducing septicemia and even death down from 18% down to just 1%. And back then, like we think of course, you've got to wash your hands. But back then, his observations totally conflicted with the established scientific and medical opinions of the time, to the point where he was totally ridiculed by his peers and ostracized and lost his profession, ended up dying a pauper. Now, you know, that might sound really harsh, but that's often where we are when we are breaking through, when we're breaking those boundaries. And often when I started talking about gut health, nutritional therapy back in, you know, 2008, people were looking at me as if I had two heads. People understand now the importance of gut health. So this is all I wanted to declare, is that, you know, simple ideas of knowledge, something might seem new or foreign or a little bit, you know, crazy, but just be open-minded, okay? Because you might be surprised at how this could impact your life and your loved ones. All right, I would now like to introduce you to Sheila. So Sheila Thelen, are you there, darling?
Yes, there. I kind of, my internet got a little unstable there for a second.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Sheila joins us all the way from America, to those who have just joined us. Sheila is a master-rated figure skating coach from America, and she has, I think, 33 decades, nearly 30 plus years in vestibular. You know, I know it makes us sound old. My eldest is 29 and he calls me old and moldy, but you know, it's okay. But yeah, so Sheila has revolutionized a harness that's now being applied to multiple groups, including post-concussion, anyone experiencing dizziness, you know, balance concerns or conditions, autism, sensory, and way more. And this is why Sheila and I immediately resonated, because this is my gig. You know, that I know so many families that really struggle from these things. So, and you work, you know, alongside, obviously, you know, skating, you know, Olympians and God knows what else you're doing, all types of athletes. And you must have years and years of experience in that vestibular system. Like, because for me, thinking of someone spinning around and around, I just get dizzy just looking at it. It's like, wow, these people are so talented. But yeah, in regards to your experience with the vestibular system and how the body works, can you share a little bit about your background and how you got into this and why you're so passionate about this vestibular training?
Thank you so much. So my story is unusual in the fact that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not an occupational therapist. I'm a master figure skating coach. And I've really spent decades teaching something I really didn't even understand. So I do this whole two hands story of for decades, for 3 decades, I've been teaching spinning, turning, spinning, turning, jumping, spinning. And really what I had become was a master vestibular coach without really realizing it. I was just doing it sports specific. And I started noticing really unusual things in my skaters that I just couldn't explain away. And part of being a really good coach is being observant. And I am crazy observant at what I was seeing in my athletes. I started seeing kids doing things that I didn't see in other sports and changes in the kids that I couldn't explain. I have multiple stories, but the one is I had a skater come to me at 14 years old who couldn't cross her feet in midair. She couldn't cross that midline. And she also didn't talk. She could talk, but she wouldn't talk. So over the 2-month period that I started working with this kid, and I remember looking at her at one point thinking, this is going to be a lot of work. This is going to be a ton of work to get this kid to really be a good athlete. And so what I ended up doing is we put her in my harness every single day for 2 months. And at the 2-month mark, almost exactly, she started talking, and she started talking in her lessons all the time, to the point I'm like, you need to shut up. You're taking a lesson, stop talking, But it was funny because I asked her, I'm like, why now? Why after 2 months? Do you just feel more comfortable with me? Like why now? And why are you talking to everyone now? And her answer was so specific, and it kind of like stuck with me for years, is that she said, well, my brain feels so much better from the off-ice harness. My brain feels so much more quiet and comfortable that I feel like I can talk to anyone now, and I'm not afraid, and I feel so comfortable. And I looked at her like, really? Okay, that's cool, And if you met her now, she's now 20 years old. She's a sophomore and a kinesiology major in college, and totally normal, like she's just this amazing, outstanding young lady that you never would have thought struggled back as a 14-year-old. So I started seeing more and more things, and I work with the whole gamut of the sport. So I work with everything from 3-year-olds that are siblings of some of my skaters, all the way through Olympians that I've worked with over the years, that I worked with them, a couple of times as they were developing athletes. And I started, like, one of my little skaters' siblings, she's only 5 with autism, but she's starting to read. But she does my harness all the time. She does it 3 times a week. So it's interesting to see. I started just seeing more and more and more things. And I started to do, so I'm this vestibular master without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole time, physical therapists and occupational therapists knew that vestibular was important, but didn't have the training tools that I had. So they had the knowledge, but I had the tools. So really, I'm trying to bring everyone together in a big kumbaya moment of really being able to provide the tools to the other trainers to really be able to apply to more things, especially sensory and autism, and the kids that really need to do that. And I really feel like what's special, as you show my videos, I feel like there's 5 major things happening that are all kind of key to it. That this little one is amazing, but really, you've got the vestibular training, you've got the axis. She's going to create an axis, which is really key to the brain. There's the balance that she's creating. She also has the proprioception of that really, really tight body harness. And then the other thing that that's really important is she's crossing that midline. So both sides of her brain are active. Her feet are crossed, her hands are crossed, her chin slightly turned. So she's crossing that midline, which I really, really, really think is a key factor to, their brain development and really getting both sides active. Fast brain kids are fast brain athletes and are fast brain academics. It's all tied together. And really part of how I also put this together was I was in one of the locker rooms here in the States, and I asked the kids, I'm like, how many of you are straight A students? And all of them raised their little hands. All of them are straight A students. And I'm like, how is that possible? I knew you when you were 6 and you were kind of a Dingledorf, and now at 11, you're super, super smart. Like, how is that possible? And so I started asking more of these questions. So then I started asking that question all over the world as I did seminars and conferences and trade shows and events with skating. I'd say, like, so how many of you are straight A students? And once again, everyone's hands went up, which you couldn't when I went into hockey locker rooms. I said, how many of you are straight A students? Like one kid raised his hand, I mean, the rest did not, but like swimming and tennis and, and all the other sports really didn't have that outstanding academics in addition to outstanding balance that these figure skaters had. So I just started to put all of this together. And as you see more and more videos, and I can send links. And of course, Rhonda's got a bunch of my videos she can send people to. And they're also all on my website at vestibulartrainingservices.com. Our running joke is you probably can spell vestibular when you've hit this part of the industry. Yeah. You can spell vestibular, and the common person can't, but we can. So, but it's really been a huge, exciting project for me, and getting to do these webinars and reaching out to Rhonda and hooking up. I have, tons of friends on LinkedIn, and I have doctors writing protocols in Ohio for me. And I'm really trying to, the goal of this company is not money. That I'm even dropping down the prices of everything to any professionals that are willing to write research, do more protocols for me, write papers, do LinkedIn posts. I'm really trying to do whatever it takes to get the product to the people and the children that really, really need it. I have kind of like, I call it my GoPro theory. GoPro, those little cameras for your head, they don't do any of their own advertising. Their people do. Their clients do. And that's really kind of our goal, that once, you start using it and showing it off, that you'll show it off to more and more people, and more people can use it. It's very easy to install. All it takes is an eye bolt. It's just an eye bolt up into a ceiling beam, and that's it. And then the locking carabiner hooks on that, and you're ready to go. So these tools are portable. They're affordable, especially in the theme of equipment for professionals. They're very affordable. We do ship worldwide, but it is something you could easily, even if you just got the harness, like you see the little girl in that harness, she doesn't, because we also have the big electric spinner, which is really expensive. Still not that expensive, but more expensive than the harness. But the harness, like, really, you could put that in a home very easily. And actually, the majority of our sales for figure skaters, do go into their homes. But for a child with autism,
and that's something that I really resonated with straight away, is because when we have children with any kind of special needs, whether it's autism or behavioural or balance or low muscle tone or whatever it might be, to me, being able to do stuff at home, like, because for me, I had 4 children, and I used to drive 45 minutes to one therapist, and then another half an hour or so to another therapist, and it really gets pretty full on. So if there's stuff that we can do it in the home, and obviously COVID has really reinforced that even more, how important it is to be able to do stuff at home for our children and for our clients. So yeah, fantastic. Can we would you mind if we played this, and maybe you could step us through this a little bit?
Play it. It's so cute. Oh,
yeah, she's gorgeous. I know.
Ball too. She sings. Okay, ready? Ready? Unhook your feet. Unhook your feet. Ready? Go. Okay, put your toes up.
starfish. Starfish. Go. Good. Starfish, go. Ooh, good job. Good job. Good. Starfish. Go. Oh,
Wow.
good. Oh, good job, Mila. Good. Good.
And that's also the moral reflex thing too.
Put your legs straight. Good.
Yeah.
Get your hands in normal. Get your hands normal. Good job. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Starfish. And go. Put your hands in. Spin faster. Squeeze. Ooh, look at that. Starfish. One more time. Okay, ready? Good. Put your feet in. Spin fast. Spin fast. Okay, coming down.
Wonderful.
And smile. Smile. Thank you.
And that's just so simple, isn't it? You know, just having her in a harness like that.
Yeah, it's very, very easy. Parents can do it. You know, I have siblings lift each other's siblings all the time. I just saw the question in the chat box. I can connect you with my doctor in Ohio that is working with several children, including a special needs child, and he is writing the protocols. But to be honest, the protocols are I think, pretty basic. It's really, I just do like 3 sets, just like you would in working out. You know, they go up, they rotate, they come down, they reset, they go up another time, they come down, they reset one more time, and we're done. This really is kind of a 5 to 7 minute project, and that's it. And that's enough for one day. It really, really is. Some kids do like to do it in the morning and at night, but really, you know, once a day, boy, we're seeing changes in just once a day for just those 3 sets, and they're done. But that body harness is it's more comfortable than it looks, and I really like it. We also, since this video was shot, we also came up with an even smaller body harness for the little kids. So we have a 20 to 50 pound body harness, a 50 to 150 pound body harness, and 150 to 200 pound body harness, and then also a 200 to 300 pound body harness. So like we really run the whole gamut of it. And so it's amazing to see the different skill levels. And I get the question all the time, like, how long does it take for the kids to really learn how to do this spinning motion? And really, it's 3 tries. Like really, by the 3rd time they go up in their first time using it, they really can do it, you know. And you can also hold it or step on the rope, and you can also adjust the child too and give them a little spin, and the kids do love it. I'll also argue that also what's going on too is a nice dopamine load is also happening while you're doing this, because your brain, it's very much like an amusement park, like, and why you really enjoy amusement parks, you know, and the kids love it. And at first we always go, oh, they look like they'll be so dizzy, and the kids really don't care, and that dizziness goes away. It really goes away, which is fascinating. So
fantastic. Sheila, so we've just had a question. Can you just mention your website again? I will put it in the actual in the link for the description when I upload it to YouTube as well. But yeah, if you could just mention that again.
Sure, it's Vestibular Training Services.com.
Wonderful.
So here I can type that.
Awesome. Now, did you have another video, or actually I'm going to see if I can share, just bear with me. I'll see if I can share this other screen. Just bear with me. Here we go. Hopefully it's going to, can you see this? Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, I can see that.
Yep. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. But if the sound is not working, can you please just step us through and explain what it is that we're seeing?
Absolutely.
Sheila, can you just step us through? So who is this gentleman?
Okay, so this is my husband, Scott, who's always a good sport for everything. In this video, he's 5 years post-concussion. He had a very severe car accident. And it's fascinating to see his skill level versus the kids' skill level. Because the kids are fast. You know, the kids all get really, really fast. And he's slow. And his skill level has just, every time he uses it, improves more and more and more. It's actually really impressive. He's pretty fast now. Like, but even in this video, he's like 10 times faster than what he started. You know, it's crazy to see how much he's improved. So go ahead and watch Scott here. Yeah, he looks slow, but he's really well.
And can you just discuss to us what's happening with his eyes?
Oh, he's really.
Yeah. So, and is because you don't see that with the children, do you? No.
The kids all get over it really, really fast. Like within seconds. They can spin 100, 120 times around, come down, nothing, just fine. And the adults are like, whoa, it's been 8 turns. And they're like, oh, you know, but it just takes some time and training. And my favorite line from one of my favorite doctors talked about, it's not 100% improvement right away, but it's 1% today. And it's 1% tomorrow. And boy, 100 days from now, it's amazing the differences that have been recreated. Also on our website too, there's multiple academic papers that obviously support vestibular spinning. And one of them even talks about it in the MRIs, it created more white matter and connective tissue to both sides of the brain. So fascinating research out there in that vestibular spinning, which weirdly, and almost when you read the articles, you're like, yeah, we know vestibular is important, you know. Okay, yeah, you know, like it's almost kind of like meh research because we already know it, you know. And when you read it, you're like, yeah, it makes sense, you know. So
yeah. And Sheila, we just had a question. So what other improvements has your husband noticed because of, you know, with actually using your tools?
You know, he's fully back at work as an engineer. So his balance improved. I think some of the quickness came back that he didn't really, he had prior to the accident, and that was gone for several years. And it really, really came back because after the accident, we weren't applying this work to this. Like I was still back in my figure skating world. I wasn't applying it to post-concussion. So really he's only had about a year's worth of spinning, and it's changed. He's faster. He's much faster. And,
and that kind of stuff
I
really
think he's
excites
happier
me.
because he feels, like I think he's happier because he feels better, and that dopamine load comes in, and I just think he's happier. So faster and happier and feeling more like himself, I think is what the biggest things that he's seen.
Yeah, and that's what everyone wants. Everyone just wants, you know, their family, their loved ones to be, you know, happier and all happy and feel like, you know, they're living their life to their full. Wonderful, thank you. I'm just going to press play. Wow, how amazing was that? Oh, I think I've lost her. Are you there? Oh, you're still there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm still
Yeah.
here. Do you have that one video of the adults going one really slow turn?
No, not on me. No. I can upload it for everyone if they want to have a look at it, because we're, obviously we're already chunking into a half an hour. We could just sit here and talk for hours and hours.
Video. Yeah, just throw it in at the end, just because she's fascinating. You know what I mean? She just does one slow turn, and
yeah,
it's my neighbor.
There you go. Yeah.
I come over to your house. I want to use your spinner.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think a lot of people would be knocking on your door and saying, "Hi, Sheila." Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you sharing all of this with us. It would be really great if you could hang around, because then towards the end,
I want to hear what everyone has to say.
Yeah, I'm conscious that it is it's evening, and you're right up the top of America, and it's absolutely freezing. I know you've had snow there today and you're all rugged up. So if you need to shoot off and get yourself a hot cocoa or a blanket or one of those big dogs to keep you warm, we want to see one of your dogs, by the way, before you go. But
Okay,
all right,
perfect.
I'm going to move forward now and introduce everyone to Madaleen. So I just want to say thank you, Sheila, again. And yeah, if you can just hang around to the end, that would be lovely. Thank you, darling. Appreciate you 100%. So grateful that we've been able to connect. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Madaleen Krogh now. For those who don't know Madaleen, Madaleen is based on the Sunshine Coast, and she's an occupational therapist and entrepreneur and a biohacker. And Madaleen was actually the lady who introduced me to the term of biohacker and biohacking. And little did I realise that I'd been biohacking for many, many years. Yeah, so Madaleen's here today. Madaleen, if you could just unmute yourself. Madaleen is a very busy woman. Like I said, she lives on the Sunshine Coast with her husband and her 4 children, and she's always been very passionate, like myself, about natural wellness and solutions, integrative health, and just very similar circumstances after experiencing burnout in her private practice, where she was working ridiculous hours, as we all do when we're self-employed, etc. She decided to return to her wellness passion and is now excited about helping others live a life of fulfillment. Madaleen, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're super busy. I greatly appreciate you taking the time out to share your knowledge and experience with us. I'm just going to slip over to this slide about biohacking. Can you just share a little bit about your background and how your life has changed since incorporating biohacking into your world and your clients, and what you've noticed? Because and then if you're open to it, I've got a couple of slides that maybe you could just because even though I'm a mum of a child that was diagnosed severely autistic, I have not fully studied vestibular systems, etc. But yeah, if you could touch on that a little bit down the track as well. But if you can just touch on right now about biohacking, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me, Rhonda. It's amazing to be here and to connect with people who are like-minded, people who are just so invested in helping others live their full potential. Rhonda, I just quickly want to note, I'm still seeing the video slide. It's not showing. I don't know if the others can also.
Okay, let me just.
But I'll go on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so like very similar to Rhonda's story, I've been a biohacker for many, many years. Didn't know that I was a biohacker. Since I can remember, I've been eating really healthy. I've done exercise. And then when I was in year 11, at the end of or in the middle of my year 11 year, I went on to a cycling trip. We cycled. And literally within 1 month that I was away from home during that cycling trip, it was very strenuous. We didn't have a lot of good nutrition. It was very exhausting. I came back with a virus. And in 1 month, I went from being a straight A student, go, energetic, 17-year-old, to sleeping 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. Went to so many doctors. And they put you on a lot of supplements. By the time you get to the 8th one, they sent you to a psychologist. And I knew there wasn't anything wrong with my mindset. It was just I felt terrible. I couldn't get myself out of bed. I didn't write my final exam at the end of year 11. Year 12 was really tough on me. And at the end of year 12, I decided to go to the States because I knew if I had to go straight to uni, I would fail because my body was just not in a position where I could go to university. And I was an au pair in America for a year, came back, studied occupational therapy. And with lifestyle factors, I have been able to recover my health to an extent. And we've got this amazing slide telling more about lifestyle. So lifestyle is extremely important. Even just sleep deprivation. I don't know if you know, but I just read this statistic not too long ago. Sleep deprivation results in gene activation of 500 different genes. So if you are sleep deprived, and you are bragging about it, it's not a good thing. We need our sleep. Our brains are really susceptible to oxidative stress and environmental factors. And Sheila, you touched on that with your husband. Our brain uses about 20% of our oxygen and energy consumption. So that's why it's so important to look after ourselves. So movement, really important, exercise, the environment, not only the city where you live, but also the environment that you create for yourself and your family at home. Unfortunately, a lot of the products that we use nowadays are extremely toxic. Newborn babies test positive for about 290 toxins. When I hear that statistic, I'm just asking myself, what's wrong with the picture? What happened? We are simply not living in the same world than our grandparents did. And then also nutrition, as you know, a lot of our foods, insecticides, pesticides, all of that have an impact. Mindfulness, it's really important, your mindset. Who do you surround yourself with? Sleep, I already mentioned, and then community. Surrounding yourself with amazing people and people who are uplifting, those are really important factors for you to have a great healthy life. But what I found is sometimes when people are so on that knife's edge of feeling overwhelmed, if you tell them you completely need to overhaul your lifestyle, all of a sudden you need to sleep 8 or 9 hours a night, get rid of the sleep deprivation, surround yourself with happy people, unless you're living in the Himalayas and it's just bliss and you've got your happy tribe and you eating all organic food. My experience is with my clients, people often just don't have the capacity. So once you can go and you can biohack and you can find those shortcuts, people will open up, their capacity will open up, and then all of a sudden they do have the capacity to import all of those lifestyle factors into their lives.
Yeah, thank you so much. And me personally, I totally resonate with that as well, because, you know, recovering my son from where he was, pretty much we were told, you know, prepare him for a special school and prepare the older siblings, because they're going to be the ones that have to support him once you're gone, and, you know, and just trying to do everything for the rest of the family and support him. But, you know, even as a nutritional therapist, because I've crashed twice, you know, once before I actually really started to get into nutrient therapy for myself. But then secondly, you know, when I opened up my clinic in Mackay before I moved here to the sunny coast, you know, just juggling so many things. That's just what we do, isn't it? And, you know, if we've got someone with vestibular problems, then often we're running here, we're running there, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. And it's really, really important that we put that oxygen mask on ourselves first. Just like that plane's going down, we need to make sure that we support ourselves in order to be able to give and serve to others. So, yeah, thank you so much. So the next slide is all about, you know, the vestibular system in action. Could you just, you know, as an occupational therapist, because obviously you've worked in pain management and you work with athletes, many, many years of experience in the anatomy and physiology of how the body works. No doubt you understand, you know, how this is so important and why certain treatments, procedures, etc., can impact the body and affect the body. So can you just touch, you know, with the people here and who are watching the recording, you know, the difference about the vestibular system and how it can potentially differ from children to adults?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say, Sheila, you are absolutely amazing. The work that you are doing, the results that you are getting, that is OT. OT is doing activities. being really functional. So vestibular processing is extremely important. If you look at things like muscle tone, sensory difficulties, vestibular is always the foundation of that. And just to clarify, sometimes people have vestibular problems and we need to go to the doctor and just find out, is there something underlying, because ear infection can also relate to dizziness. So we just need to rule all of that out. And often in adults, when you have vestibular problems, there's a strong link with anxiety and with stress. But if we look at the vestibular problems that we see in kids, like you mentioned with the kids that you are working with, Sheila, it's very kids are more likely to have those results quicker because they are forever moving. Us as adults, we're sitting in an office and we are not moving that often. If you have a look at your vestibular organs in your inner ear, it's 3 semicircular canals. And in those canals, it has little hairs sticking up and there's fluid. So whenever there's movement in your head, in your body, it triggers those little hairs, and that gives input to the brain about the position of you in space. Now, a little movement will give a little input, a massive movement will give massive input. Now, that is very closely linked to muscle tone. And muscle tone is basically when we talk about the increase or the decrease in tension when we are moving. And as I mentioned, vestibular system is really the foundation of all of this. Now, when we look at kids, sometimes you find that kids are sensory seeking. They are the kids that naturally will be swinging from the curtains, hanging upside down all the time. Or you may have kids who are sensory avoiding. They don't want to move. They don't want to do the rough and tumble. Now, the thing about the vestibular system is, because it's so needed for all your sensory functions, you need to integrate that system. So whether you are sensory seeking or sensory avoiding, you need to integrate that system. And like you mentioned, Sheila, it's also related to proprioception. So proprioception has to do with the direction of your joints. So it's little receptors in all of your joints. So if you close your eyes, I know if you passively move my hand, I can understand that my hand has been lifted up. So that's proprioception. Now, what we often see with kids is you will have a child who have attention problems. And often people don't understand that it's coming from the vestibular system. Sometimes it's not even a tension problem. Sometimes it's a sensory problem, because most of the time kids with sensory problems also have, kids with vestibular problems often also have sensory issues, and the sensory systems are very linked to what you see, bright lights, what you hear, like they can be very sensitive to noise, taste, not liking the foods that you dish up to them. So really it's all about integrating all of those systems. And let's say you've got a child who's sitting in class with a label in his back and the label is scratching. That child may be the one fiddling all the time, developing into the class clown, and then the teacher can go to the mom and say, your child has attention problems. It's not attention problems. We need to get to the root cause of this. And I know, Rhonda, you're doing amazing work in this area. It all starts with the brain. It's all about what are you feeding those neurological cells in your brain? Because like I mentioned, the brain is so susceptible to oxidative stress. There's a massive amount of mitochondria in your brain. So really important that we have a look at that and how we absorb those foods, because you can eat great foods, but if you don't absorb the foods, and unfortunately a lot of the garbage food that people feed their kids, and sometimes it's not because you want to feed your kids that, sometimes it's just you don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's fantastic. Thank you. So I guess I've thrown this slide in because I see this, in clinic all the time, how children, like you're talking about physically, you know, they're either really out there, and that was my son, he'd be climbing trees and a whole host of stuff, but, you know, the fine motor skills had disappeared. He couldn't hold pencils, or, you know, his focus and concentration, he lost his speech and language, and emotionally just, you know, wasn't coping. And, you know, socially, he would go and crash tackle a child because he couldn't verbally and say, "Hi, Madaleen, you want to go and play? You want to be my friend?" You know, like, so all of these things were really impacting upon him. So, and I think, you know, anyone with a child with any kind of vestibular concerns or autism or whatever it might be can, you know, they'll be ticking a box somewhere along the lines here. So if I can just jump in regards to, because we were, you know, talking about the other day in regards to epigenetics, and you know, you were talking about, you know, oxidative stress and mitochondria, but can you just touch on a little bit in regards to, you know, the term epigenetics and importance? Because I see that especially also in clinic of, you know, children with any kind of special needs or even anxiety, depression. I work, because I mainly, for those who don't know, I mainly work with women and children, but mental health and pediatric special needs is my gig. It's absolutely my passion. And I know, you know, in regards to epigenetics, how it's impacted me and my family. But would you like to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned, lifestyle really important, the community that you surround yourself with, the environment that you're creating for yourself and your family. Genes is really something that for many years people thought that's the cards that you were dealt. It's cast in stone. You can't change anything about it. We now know through the science of epigenetics, epigenetics refers to the environment having an impact on our genes, that we can change that. So what does that mean? Is your brown hair going to turn into blonde hair? No, it's not those genes. It's the genes that relates to the functions in your cells. And you've got genes in every single cell of your body. It's the blueprint of your cells. And also, it's really important to understand that the cells that you have today is not the cells that you were born with. So your cells replicate every 30 or 60 or 90 days. Now, if you are making a copy of a copy of a copy, and you throw in bad factors all along the way, by the time you get to 30, 40, 80 years old, you're going to have bad copies. That is unfortunately going to have an impact on your health. And if we think about all of this, when you think about a 5-year-old and you think about a 95-year-old, it's two completely different pictures. And it's because that gene expression goes out of tune along the way. So you are born with specific youth pathways, keeping you young. And unfortunately, around the age of about 2025, those youth pathways start to shut down. And then aging starts. Now, aging is more than gray hair and wrinkles. It's what's happening in your cells and also in your genes. And it's so important to understand that even with our kids nowadays, aging starts younger because they are exposed to Wi-Fi and 5G and insecticides, pesticides. So we as parents need to be proactive, and we need to help them.
Absolutely. And this is something that I'm really passionate about, because I do see in clinic each generation is becoming weaker and weaker. And, you know, in regards to genetic profile, we are, you know, switching certain genes on and a whole host of stuff. And the genetic profile that you were talking about is being passed down through the generations. But, you know, so is trauma, so is, you know, major stress. You know, my family background on my mother's side, on my maternal grandfather, you know, we're Russian Jews, Holocaust survivors. So that, you know, that type of trauma is also passed down genetically. And I really do believe that that's impacting upon, well, the research shows it's impacting upon the generations and the genetic profile. So in regards to, you know, biohacking with nutrigenomics and stuff like this is something that you and I, Madaleen, talk about on a regular basis, because we're very, very passionate about what we're putting into our bodies. And nutrigenomics, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's how we're studying nutrients and naturally occurring compounds that can ultimately impact upon our gene, but also our health on, just on a daily basis. And I think you'd all agree, food is medicine, and we've all heard the old saying, you are what you eat, which I totally agree, but even more so, I believe you are what you absorb, and most people are not absorbing as nature intended. And you touched on a little bit in regards to the food just before. There's many things that can assist with the vestibular, concerns, etc., which I'll touch on a little bit further down the track. And but we're hearing more and more, that what we're eating is just not enough anymore. Can you, Madaleen, explain to us, for those who are listening, more about the term of nutrigenomics and, and why it's just not enough to eat, truckloads of healthy food or supplement where necessary. So, for example, supplement, I mean, like if you're lacking zinc or B vitamins or magnesium or something, we would supplement iron or whatever if you're lacking. But can you just expand on that a little bit, and potentially why we're hearing more and more health professionals, researchers that are recommending that we start looking at, biohacking and nutrigenomics?
Yeah, absolutely. So nutrigenomics, like you mentioned, it refers to nutrition and how that impact that it has on your genes. So if you have a look at great healthy foods, I'm absolutely an advocate for whole foods. If it comes in a package and it's preserved and it has a lot of additives, it is definitely not the best choice. However, for myself, for us as a family, we were eating really healthy. My husband is a triathlete, and I consumed smoothies by the gallon, so many. And still, I felt massive fatigue. And having 4 kids and a private practice and working at all kinds of odd hours during the night, I thought, well, I've got 4 reasons to be this tired. But if you can really tap into science, and it's science-based, there's so many research studies supporting this. If you can tap into your genes and you can help your genes to be activated, it's going to help you to fast track that process. So instead of, if you think about, for instance, oxidative stress, if you need to reduce your oxidative stress and you're taking food sources, it's too slow. You are going to eliminate one free radical with one antioxidant, but there's ways that you can really fast track this process, and that's what we are looking for, because that's going to help you to quicker open up capacity.
Absolutely. And it's like, when we see our children at a birthday party or something, they're eating lollies and cakes and God knows what else. Sorry, that's my dog sneezing in the background. And or preservatives, colors, all these types of things. If you put rubbish in, you're going to get rubbish out. Their thoughts, their behavior, their health is going to be rubbish. Wow, Dyson, are you okay, baby? He's having a full-on sneezing fit. But yeah, so getting back to nutrigenomics and how that can potentially help with, vestibular conditions. I regularly see, research showing that vitamin D can be helpful, active forms of B vitamins, magnesium. These have all been shown to assist with vestibular concerns and conditions. And certain foods, anything that's contain, high levels of fatty acids, anti-inflammatory qualities, they're all, absolutely vital for function of the blood vessels. High antioxidant foods, like you were talking about, Madaleen, blueberries, acai, red wine, although you'd need a lot of red wine, and I wouldn't advise that. Yeah, so all of these things are really, really helpful in regards to that cellular activity and activating those pathways, that we're all born with. So especially in regards to, the brain, inner ears, muscles, all those types of things, we need to make sure that we're staying on top of it as best we can. Some of the foods that they recommend that we actually avoid that potentially are problematic are all the good things that we potentially like, is like, the chocolate, the red wine, coffee, and then also the energy drinks, lots of sugary drinks, soft drink, things like that. Inflammatory foods, gluten, dairy, especially anything that's aged or pickled, they find that that can be quite problematic. So we're looking at fermented foods or smoked foods. That could be salamis, sausages, olives. There's a whole host of stuff. And obviously MSG, we avoid that, any kind of sodium nitrates, preserved meats and stuff. That's just something that we know that you can use or avoid. Put in whole foods, like you were saying, Madaleen, and that's a way that we can actually start to biohack. Can you just touch a little bit more about what you're talking about with oxidative stress? I've got a slide here. If you could just touch on that a little bit more about, what is oxidative stress, what causes it, and why is it so important that we decrease oxidative stress?
Yeah, absolutely. So oxidative stress refers to the process that happens in your cells with oxygen, because you can probably recognize the word oxygen in there. So even just you breathing is creating oxidative stress in your cells. When you were born with a built-in pathway to get rid of that oxidative stress, but that's one of the youth pathways that shuts down around the age of 2025. The big thing about oxidative stress to remember is it's present in every single cell. You simply cannot get away from it. So let's say you've got a paper cut on your finger, that's only localized, it's only your finger, but oxidative stress is present in every single cell, every single system. So really, really important that we get rid of the oxidative stress in the most effective way.
Thank you so much. And so if we cannot reduce these excessive amounts of free radicals and oxidative stress, what's in your opinion in regards to the studies? It's been shown to be linked to hundreds, if not thousands, of conditions, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to eliminate the effects of oxidative stress, because as I mentioned, we cannot get away from it. So if you are going to tap into your gene expression and upregulate the good genes, that will help you to quicker eliminate the oxidative stress that you have in your cells.
Yeah. And you touched on mitochondria before as well, and this was a real big factor for me with burning the candle at both ends. Even though I was eating really well, I was taking vitamins, minerals, etc., and trying to eliminate as much of the free radicals, oxidative stress that I could by smoothies by the gallon. Like you were talking about. I was having goji berry juice, and I was having and then going up to wolfberry and acai and blueberries. We just can't eat our way out of it. And what we see through science is that excessive amounts of oxidative stress, oxidative damage, actually damages our mitochondria, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a vacuum cleaner. When you start a vacuum cleaner, there's going to be a byproduct. And for your cells to clean up, for your antioxidants to clean up the mitochondria is like a vacuum cleaner. If your vacuum cleaner is working really well, it's fine. Unfortunately, with the epigenetics that we discussed, the environmental factors, the insecticides, pesticides, sometimes it's like taking your Dyson and trying to vacuum the desert. So we need to be more effective in that regard. And the mitochondria is present in every single cell. So we really need to look after the mitochondria, because that is going to help the process to clean up our cells. Now, the mitochondria, just to take you back to high school biology, those are the energy hubs of your cells. Unlike that picture, you don't only have 3 mitochondria per cell, you've got thousands. And the mitochondria relates to way more than the physical energy that you have in the morning when you open your eyes. It relates to the inherent energy of that cell to do its job. So if you think about a heart cell, if you don't have enough mitochondria, or your mitochondria are not working well anymore, you are going to struggle functionally with your heart output. So really important to look after our mitochondria as well.
Yeah, and I was really quite surprised when I read that it's like 10% of our body weight is mitochondria. And our brain has about 10,000 mitochondria per brain cell. So this is to me is really, really important, because any kind of infraction on that mitochondria, because as we know it replicates, and as it replicates, if it's dysfunctional, it's going to make a copy of a copy, and it's dysfunctional all the way through. So that then passes all the way through, muscle cells, about 200 to 2,000 mitochondrion per muscle cell. So you can imagine, the connection with the vestibular. It's quite full on. And what I'm especially passionate about and myself as well is in regards to gut health. And there's so much research coming through in regards to the gut health and the inner ear. And it's really quite common, more common than people actually are aware. And even with traumatic brain injury, that gut-brain axis, we're all now understanding the importance of actually addressing the gut. And we go back, many, many moons ago, where Hippocrates says all disease begins in the gut. Of course, if there's some kind of traumatic brain injury, well, then obviously that's been the significant factor. But it's going to be passing both ways. So this is something that I think people need to be more aware of, is that it's actually going to have a significant impact upon our gut if we have some kind of trauma to the brain. So I'm not sure if everyone can see this very well, but what I was just wanting to share in regards to the gut health, this is the small intestine, the microvilli, and this is what it looks like under a slide. Very, very well, it's not, obviously it's an animated picture, it's a cartoon picture, but you get the idea. This is what it looks like when it's healthy. And this is our actual microvilli. This is our mucosal layer that protects us from any kind of undigested food, pathogens, bacteria seeping through into the bloodstream. What we know is that this mucosal layer is quite deceiving, but that's about a thickness of one strand of hair. Yeah, it's absolutely minute. When we start to see things changing, that's when our health starts to decline significantly. And it could take a while before this happens. But this is a mucosal layer. This is nice tight junctions. And this is what Madaleen was talking about in regards to free radicals, reactive oxygen species. And we actually make our own antioxidants. And that pathway, what Madaleen was talking about, that starts to turn off naturally in our mid-20s. But I see children coming into clinic with really excessive amounts of free radicals, oxidative stress, and especially in regards to any kind of vestibular. It's just, to me, it's a given. We always address this immediately. So this is what it looks like when it's all nice and healthy. We combat the free radicals with our own antioxidant molecule. And you can see the mitochondria here are nice and plump and they're working. So this is the energy. It's the battery in every single cell. We come over here and we actually start to see this is intestinal inflammation, like what we call leaky gut, bacterial dysbiosis, etc. The mucosal layer is starting to decline, and it's actually the mucosal layer is leaky. So it's allowing things to enter into the bloodstream that should not be there. But what you also start to see is that we're no longer, because of the stress and the inflammation, we're no longer capable of making antioxidants anymore to be combating the free radicals. So they're just running around wreaking havoc. And you can see the mitochondria is actually starting to become quite depleted and dysfunctional. That's going to replicate dysfunctional mitochondria. So we need to get on top of this, and this is what Madaleen was talking about. And we're not going to have time to go through all this today, but we're more than welcome to do another Zoom webinar if people are wanting more information on how to activate our pathways and get these antioxidant molecules going again, because everyone needs to do this. The research shows that every single mammal on the planet has excessive amounts of oxidative stress, even our fur babies. So this slide here is also in regards to, well, how could this really impact upon the vestibular? Well, you can see here bacterial imbalances, food sensitivities on the left-hand side. This is all nice and healthy. And then what we start to see here is a buildup ear, nose, throat problems, etc. And you can see it very easily with children, if they've got that vestibular problem, or they're having to go to the ENT, get grommets put in, tonsils removed, adenoids. These are all connecting things. So I just want to put it out there to people in regards to, the foods and vitamins and minerals, etc. It's super important that we actually look at this from an integrative approach and really be open to, to what's out there, because it's changing people's lives for the better. When you start to look at, nutrient therapy, nutrigenomics, biohacking, and then bringing in, people like Madaleen as an occupational therapist, or people like Sheila, Sheila, who's seeing, these fantastic changes within her people, the people that she's supporting. I just think, we need to shout this from the rooftops. We need to get this information out there. So I just want to say thank you so much for everyone's time. And if anyone's, wanting more information, please go back to, especially if you're watching the recording, please go back to the person who's shared this with you. If you're wanting more information about another Zoom, we're more than happy to, talk about other ways of like antioxidants, how we can activate our natural youth pathways. There's so much more that we're wanting to tune in. And if you are a health professional, or if you're a health advocate out there changing lives, I want to hear from you, because this is just the first episode of my Biohacker series, and there's a lot more to come. So just in closing, if anyone wants any more information about ASD Healthy Life, I do have a website. It's called asdhealthylife.com.au, and I also have three free 30-minute initial appointments. So if you're wanting to, if you've got questions, you want to discuss what your goals are, what your concerns are, while you learn a little bit more about me and potentially how I can support you, this is a great avenue. That's the website. It's just a matter of clicking on a free intro appointment, and we can go from there. So that wraps up our first interview from the Biohacker series. I just want to close on this. I actually I saw this on a seminar that I went to many, many years ago from a well-respected GP over in America, that we are all cells. Okay, everything on a cellular level, regardless of what we're dealing with, we pass that down through the generations. So as one biohacker to another, you've got this. Let's do this. We can make a change for ourselves, our babies, but also our babies' babies. Bring on all those grandchildren. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you. Take care. Bye.